What is happening, Dolphins fans? Welcome to an episode of the Fins Tailgate. Little impromptu type of episode. Not going to be the longest one, but there's going to be a lot in this one. A couple of things need to be addressed heading into that week. After the home win against the Patriots, I spoke a lot about what this game was going to mean to the Miami Dolphins, not just their season, but to this team, to this organization, right? And not only did I say that, I also gave 3 examples of which this game could go. First example being that we win. That we win, this team shows up, the offense does what it defense does enough to keep them in the game, and the offense plays well in the cold on the road, killing all the narratives. Whether the game was close or the Dolphins had their way, it was exactly the type of thing that would have killed every single narrative, and everyone could have been, hoorahing around these parts. Second scenario that could have happened was that they lose. But they lose with respectability. They lose with some pride. They lose in a manner, say it's even 24-27, right? And a late drive, couple of bad penalties puts them in field goal position and they win the game, and the Dolphins offense just doesn't have enough time or timeouts to drive and tie it or whatever. There could be a respectability, right? But there was also the third option, the one the Dolphins could not let happen and should not have let happen, one in which we are outclassed in every which way, one in which made us look like not just pretenders but fakes. And that's what happened. The Dolphins on all sides of the ball were outclassed. That's the facts. Defense played better in the first half than in the second half, I think. And, let up some points. Got some stops. Held them to a couple of 3-and-outs, one in which that was erased by a muff punt. And on the road in the cold at night, prime time, you're asking a lot for your defense. But to me, they delivered more in the first half than the offense did. That could only muster 94 passing yards, somewhere around there, and 3 points. No touchdowns. Couldn't rush the ball to save their lives. Terrible display. One in which their final possession, they turned it over on downs. They went for a throw on first, didn't get nowhere, ran the ball on second. Came up with, I think, like a 2-yard run or something like that. It was 3rd and 8. Bad throw by Tua. 4th and 8. Another bad throw by Tua. And turned over on downs. And went from being what would be 21-3, in which you would have hoped to score on that drive, to give yourself 10-21 heading into halftime and getting the ball back and doing something with it. None of those things happened. They score before the half. We get the ball back and go 3-and-out again. Now, if you're going to ask your defense to win you football games, Miami Dolphins fans, then you've got the wrong head coach and you've got the wrong mentality. Your assets have been put heavily into the offense, heavily into leaning. This team follows the offense. That's the head coach. That's his entire coaching staff. That's the 5th round draft pick quarterback that they brought all this in for. Not to mention drafting Waddle, his friend from college, so he could have that connection. And not to mention the 1st round draft pick and multiple other picks you gave up to get Tyreek Hill. So, if you don't understand how that's a offensive leaning football team, then I don't know what to tell you. You don't know football, and I can't help you with that. That's on you. You're an idiot. You're a dumbass, and you don't know anything. You've never played the sport. You've never been a part of a team. You don't understand what it does, how you're supposed to work together as a team. Because all I know is from this fan base, they consistently want this defense to bail the offense out, especially when it's against a good opponent, especially when it's against the likes of Josh Allen, right? Something the Dolphins defense has never been able to do. And to me, it says, hey, we can't stop Josh Allen, so we better outscore him on offense. Let's go draft the quarterback with the 5th pick. Let's go get a McGenius up in the hood. Let's go get a coaching staff and players and, have every position that we can filled to outscore them. And they don't. And because of these reasons, and because I can't speak with football nuances to people anymore, mainly because of the lack of knowledge and understanding of what the football athlete and football game is, because the majority of the fan base aren't athletes. They aren't football players. They don't know. So I will speak stupidly to them. The new radical type of stupid. The learned football on Madden stupid. The one in which the fans are more than happy to have filled meaningless statistics and dumbass memes and graphics of strung together game stats in this obscure manner that measures ridiculous accomplishments. Ones that don't amount to wins. Ones that don't amount to what a real football team is or needs to be. This is the real reason why the Miami Dolphins ultimately are going to go nowhere. A, their fan base is absolutely infested with morons. But we'll table that for now. The real reason is that this Miami Dolphins team, since the changing of guard under head general manager Chris Grier, and the hiring of even since Brian Flores, since the changing of guard, it's remained the same. A leaderless, heartless, soft football organization. Dating all the way back when, even to like Philbin, right? The Philbin era, the Adam Gase era. I don't know if you guys were around for that, but there was this constant routine action where the guys who ended up with the C on their chest, the captains, those were the ones that were let go when it ultimately failed, making excuses. And this thing that happened is very important in time. Because what it has bred in the locker room and shown to people is that C is the guy who falls on the sword. That's the guy who is blamed in the end. Now, sometime after that, we started giving these C's out to what people expected them to go to. Now, I get it, right? Quarterback's supposed to be the captain. Get it? That's kind of like your top players, your players that are making the big bucks, the ones in which you spent the draft picks and spent the capital and have clearly made everything about this football team. You put the C's on their chest. But this team is without real captains. This team doesn't have capitans. They don't have El Capitans in the locker room. They don't have ownership, taking ownership. They don't have management, who you would think that has been here long enough to see these systemic things that have carried on with this franchise, with this fan base. They don't have management. that's smart enough to learn from those mistakes. They don't have a staff, coaching, and certainly this isn't in the locker room. And what I mean by leadership and captains, what I mean by those who hold people accountable that you don't want to have to deal with. It ain't the coach, it ain't the general manager, it ain't the owner, and it certainly ain't players in that locker room. Because the Dolphins made certain of it under Stephen Ross. Those guys that would stand up tall and hold people accountable weren't liked. They weren't cool. They weren't all right. And it was their fault, not coaches, not general management, not just the overall game plan, not just the overall team identity. And I've got a great example of this. A great example. Look at the addition of Calais Campbell. A late season addition, mind you. A guy that came in here after Shaq Barrett came around these parts was like, I'm good. Yeah, I don't think so. Just not feeling it. For whatever reasons. Kind of feeling it now because the team looked like they were coming back, but I bet you he's feeling to himself, well, after that Thursday night performance, I'm kind of still not feeling it. But let's get back to it. Late addition Calais Campbell immediately comes to this football team and is a leader. A leader. Now, that's in his personality. Agreed. That's who that guy is. Calais Campbell, probably the leader everywhere he goes, being 6'9" and is big with that deep ass voice. That Calais Campbell voice, right? But the real reason why he came in here and on day one was a guy people had to follow. A guy worth following. Because this team is devoid of leadership and accountability. That's why. It's vacant. There's no leadership on this football team. And when the going gets tough and the weather gets cold and you need to make plays, not fucking pad stats, not do what you can, do what you fucking must. Those ones that wear the C's on this team are not held accountable for it. Not by the fans, not by the organization. In fact, they are propped up in losses because their stats look pretty good. What the fuck type of bizarro world have I entered? Someone explain it to me. They had a good day on a day we took a fucking loss? Let's pat each other on the back? Let's applaud them? Let's give them a thank you. This fan base, soft as baby shit. Soft as this football team. Y'all are fucking stupid. It's amazing. Amazing. Not only do we not want to... No, you know what we want to do? We want to hold accountable the things that even if they got better wouldn't ultimately matter in this game. You can't have the ones that make the money and wear the C on the chest and be the guy everyone looks to, not be the ones making the fucking plays. Not be the ones at halftime saying, Listen, bitch, I ain't going out like this, and if it's your fucking fault, you gotta come see me. That ain't on this team. Now, you want Calais to be that in his 1 year fucking contract? Late season edition? Fine. They say that in the land of the blind, the man with one eye is king. Well, in the case of the Miami Dolphins, with no true leader and no true leadership, there's no one to really blame.